Picture this. You're standing at a crossroads, not knowing which direction to take. Every option in front of you feels overwhelming, and the weight of uncertainty presses down like a thick fog. You're paralyzed, unsure whether your next step will lead you towards success or right into the arms of failure. Sound familiar? But what if I told you that every choice you've ever made, every failure, every moment of doubt, is leading you exactly where you need to be? Today, I want to share 3 stories. Stories that are not just about my life, but about our lives. These stories hold lessons that could change how you see your journey, how you approach failure, and even how you face the reality we all must meet in the end. Death. By the end of this video, I promise you'll look at life differently. You'll see how each moment, each decision, no matter how small, plays a crucial part in shaping the person you're becoming. Let's start. Take a deep breath. And together, let's dive into 3 stories that might just transform the way you see your future. My first story is about something we've all struggled with. Trust. Trusting the unknown. Trusting that life's seemingly random events will one day make sense. It wasn't always easy for me. You see, I dropped out of college just 6 months after starting. And that decision terrified me. Let me paint the picture for you. I was a young, hopeful student. My parents had poured their life savings into my education, believing that a degree would be my ticket to success. The pressure was immense. And yet, there I was, sitting in classes that felt disconnected from my passions, from who I was. Walking away from college wasn't just a decision. It was a leap into the unknown. A scary, exhilarating leap that left me vulnerable. Imagine telling your parents, who sacrificed so much, that you're dropping out with no plan in place. It felt like stepping off a cliff, not knowing if there was solid ground below or a steep drop into failure. But here's where it gets interesting. That leap into uncertainty gave me the freedom to explore. I started attending classes that actually interested me. No longer bound by the rigid structure of required courses, I wandered into the most unlikely subjects, one of them being calligraphy. Calligraphy. You might be thinking, what does calligraphy have to do with anything? That's exactly what I thought. But there was something about the elegance of the letters, the artistry of the fonts, that captivated me. It was beautiful. It felt meaningless at the time, but I followed that curiosity. Fast forward years later. That random, seemingly irrelevant skill became the cornerstone of one of the biggest innovations in technology. The design of the first Macintosh computer. It was the calligraphy class that inspired the beautiful typography that would set Apple apart from every other computer at the time. And here's the lesson. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking back. You won't always understand why you're drawn to certain paths, why you're pulled in unexpected directions. But when you trust your instincts, when you follow what excites you, those dots will one day connect. Trust the journey, even if it doesn't make sense right now. I want you to take a moment to think about your own life. What are the dots you're trying to connect? Maybe it's a job you're not sure you should leave, a passion project you're afraid won't pay the bills, or a relationship that feels uncertain. You may not see it now, but each of these experiences is shaping your path. Trust them. Now, I'd like to move on to the second story. What happens when the dots seem to connect, but everything you've built comes crashing down? My second story is about something we all fear: failure. Not just any failure, but the kind of failure that shakes you to your core. The kind that makes you question who you are, what you're worth, and whether you'll ever recover. For me, that moment came when I was fired from Apple, the very company I had started. Can you imagine? After years of pouring my heart and soul into building something revolutionary, I was suddenly out. Gone. The board decided they didn't need me anymore, and I was left standing on the outside of the company I had created. The feeling was indescribable. It wasn't just the loss of a job, it was the loss of identity. I had built Apple from nothing, turning it into a multi-billion-dollar empire, and in an instant, it was taken away. I felt like a failure. Everything I had worked for seemed to crumble right in front of me. For months I drifted, lost in the aftermath of that failure. I remember waking up each day wondering who I was without Apple. What was my purpose? What was I supposed to do now? But here's the thing about failure. It strips away the superficial. It leaves you with only the core of who you are, In that period of darkness, I rediscovered my love for creating. I hadn't lost my passion for innovation, for building something new. And that's where the real magic happened. I started over. From the ashes of that failure, I built 2 new companies, Next and Pixar. Pixar went on to revolutionize the world of animation, producing the first fully computer-animated feature film, Toy Story. And Next? Well, it led me back to Apple. Yes, you heard that right. The company I built brought me back to where I started, but this time I was stronger, more experienced, and ready to take Apple to new heights. Failure had been my greatest teacher. It showed me that sometimes the worst thing that can happen is actually the best thing for you. It forces you to reevaluate, to rebuild, to rise stronger than ever before. Lesson? Failure isn't the end. It's just the beginning of something greater. I want you to think about the failures in your life. Maybe it's a job you didn't get, a relationship that ended, or a dream that didn't go as planned. Whatever it is, understand that failure is not final. It's an opportunity to start again, to rebuild, and to create something even better. But there's one more story, one that deals with the most profound lesson of all, the one thing we all must face: death. My third and final story is about death. Now I know what you're thinking. This is getting heavy. But bear with me. Death is something we all try to avoid thinking about, yet it's the one thing we all have in common. I was about 17 years old when I read a quote that stuck with me for the rest of my life. If you live each day as if it were your last, one day you'll most certainly be right. It's a simple thought, but incredibly powerful. Since then, every morning, I've looked in the mirror and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today? Whenever the answer has been no for too many days in a row, I know something needs to change. Here's the thing. Knowing that you're going to die is the most important tool for making life's big decisions. It strips away all the noise, all the fear, the pride, the worry about failure. What remains is what truly matters. Death is life's greatest change agent. It clears out the old to make way for the new. And right now, that new is you. You're here, alive, with the chance to make every moment count. Don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your inner voice. As hard as it is to think about, death is a reminder that time is precious. Your time is limited, so don't waste it on things that don't truly matter. Follow your heart, pursue your passions, and live each day as though it were your last. Does that sound dark? Maybe. But it's also incredibly freeing. Once you accept that life is short, you can start living fully, without fear, without hesitation, without holding back. Here we are. 3 stories, 3 powerful lessons. Trust the dots, embrace failure, and live with the awareness that every day is precious. These aren't just ideas. They're a blueprint for living a life that truly matters. Now, it's your turn. What will you do with the time you have? What dots are waiting for you to connect? What passion is calling for your attention? And what fears are holding you back? If this message spoke to you, if you're ready to take control of your life and start connecting the dots, then hit that subscribe button. Don't just watch from the sidelines. Join me on this journey. Every day is a new opportunity to learn, grow, and move closer to the life you've always imagined. Together, we'll explore new ideas, push past limits, and inspire each other to live fully, with purpose. Stay curious, stay determined, and most importantly, stay hungry for life. Hit that subscribe button and let's chase greatness together. I'll see you in the next one.